It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
Howdy ho, Ranger Joes. It's Wild Will.
And Uncle Chris.
From Slumberland at the Lake. Time for another cup of coffee, and it is a good one. We get back from Thanksgiving, and Uncle Chris, we both are fitting on the set. I'm surprised.
You did a better job than I did, though, man. I did a lot of eating, but you actually lost weight.
Yeah, we'll talk about all of that. We got a lot of sports to go over. Chiefs, Mizzou, football, Mizzou, basketball. Hey, Osage Beach looking at a marijuana tax now that recreational marijuana looks to be a reality.
Yeah.
Osage Beach, they're looking to capitalize on that influx and sales tax potentially. Listen, we highlighted him a couple weeks ago. Lake Ozark Police Chief Gary Launderville announces his retirement.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. Look back at our Thanksgiving break. So much fun was had. Also, gas prices still low here in the state of Missouri. We'll look at some of the prices around the lake and a very special hometown hero on this week's Cup of Coffee from Slumberland at the Lake. But before we get into things, we'll take a commercial break and be right back.
Our biggest sale of the year is held over, so there's still time to get Black Friday deals during our huge Thanksgiving sale held over at Slumberland Furniture. Incredible prices, plus get 30% off on top of that store-wide. Get your final chance for Black Friday deals and 30% off? Yep, held over. And don't forget, mattress shopping is easy, fast, and comfortable at Slumberland. Come see our difference and get a great sale on a mattress today.
All right, time to get started on another great show. It's a cup of coffee from Slumberland at the Lake. And our first local story, Uncle Chris. So now that we've seen recreational marijuana passed for the state of Missouri, and as we get ready for that to become a reality in the lake area, Osage Beach already planning and looking at how they could profit increase and increase sales tax.
Yeah, and I'm betting a whole lot of municipalities are doing this,
Yeah.
right? And this was one of the things that the pro-marijuana folks used as a way to get the positive vote is there should be a lot more extra tax generated. So here's the possibility. Residents in Osage Beach deciding on the ballot issue, if approved, would jack up the sales tax for sales of marijuana if the Board of Aldermen approves putting the question on the ballot. So the aldermen are going to have to approve putting it on the ballot to go before the people, apparently. The issue is asking voters if the city should impose an additional 3% sales tax on top of the current sales tax on all tangible personal property retail sales of adult use of marijuana.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's narrow toward the marijuana sales. Recent statewide constitutional change approving that marijuana becomes legal on December 8th, I believe, of this year, and then the first day that it will be made available for sale is February 6th of next year.
Okay.
So that's all coming fast.
Very, very, very quickly. And so for those of you out there that might be marijuana smokers, you're going to have to wait till February. And Chris, the way I look at it is people that want to smoke marijuana have been doing it for a while, and the government's not been making any tax. If someone wants something, whether it's a gun, whether it's a substance, whether it's a leisure activity, they're going to find a way to do it, whether it's legal or not. So now that it is legal, even though we don't love the way this got passed, it does make sense for these municipalities to be profiting off this. They need to get a piece of the pie, and that really comes down to the whole reason it's not been legal is kind of beyond me, because the government's missed out a lot of money. It's going to be moving, and so Osage Beach already planning on it, and this will go on the ballot.
Probably next April.
I would think next
if it's approved
in the spring. So be interesting. I think every, like you said, municipality is going to go that way. They're going to want their piece of the pie. Osage Beach no different. So good work for the city of Osage Beach getting ahead on that.
Yeah, back in the day they used to call that a sin tax, right? Yeah. Taxing something that is sinful, whether it's alcohol or, whatever. So this would be, and if you're making 3% off that, there's going to be a lot of extra money there.
Yeah, if we want to look at the government and what they regulate, if they really cared about the people, you'd have a sin tax on McDonald's and on soda and carbohydrates.
No kidding,
and,
yeah.
Vaping things, all of these, which there is the tobacco tax. It's just crazy, though, because if the government really cared, we wouldn't be able to put the crap into our body every day that we do.
Yeah. Yeah, it is something. I think somebody won a lawsuit recently against McDonald's saying their food was unedible, and they won that lawsuit, from what I understand. So how crazy is that?
Well, legally it probably is, some of the stuff that's in there.
Yeah.
I noticed, we like McDonald's in our house, admittedly so. And it's easy to go through the drive-thru and get a Happy Meal. You can get milk, you can get apple slices. But if you notice, if McDonald's sits in your car, a year later, a month later, there's no mold. There's so many preservatives in it. It's harder, but it's the same exact looking food or whatever you call it that it was, when they served it to you. So kind of scary.
That takes me back to my days as a kid where you'd hide cereal bowls under the bed or something, go back 3 months later and they were all moldy.
Right, but not McDonald's, baby. Still good 3 or 4 months later. All right, so on to our next story. We highlighted him a few weeks ago as our hometown hero, Lake Ozark Police Chief Gary Launderville.
Yeah.
He sent his letter and to Harrison Fry, Lake Ozark City Administrator, announcing his plan to retire at the end of the year. So he's been serving here at the lake for about 8 years, 30 plus years in Buena Vista County in Iowa, in many capacities, including their sheriff. So incredible career for Chief Gary Launderville.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he was a big asset to the community for those 8 years, and now they need to, there's been a little bit of change going on in that area. New mayor in Lake Ozark, obviously. I think Harrison Fry has officially taken over as, what is his job now? City administrator.
And real quick, can we say how amazing this young man is going to be?
Yeah.
Harrison Fry. That guy is sharp, and he's going to be phenomenal. And as you mentioned, City of Lake Ozark seen some changes, but when he came here, that being Gary Launderville, a little over 8 years ago, something you could always say about him is in 8 years, never one time did you have any fishy stories, any questions about what was going on within that department. And he was up against every single odd from lack of funding, lack of staff, lack of leadership. You remember the old mayor, Jerry Morawski, before him, Johnny Francesco, and he never rocked the boat. He was able to stay where he was at and continue to improve the department. So really his second career, put 30 plus years in Iowa, came down and gave his last 8 years of service to the Lake of the Ozarks community in the city of Lake Ozark.
Well, and I think you and the chief and his wife Sandy all went to a football game recently, and you were like, they're the greatest people in the world.
And it's true too. Yeah, Unique and I had an opportunity. Chief Launderville and his wife Sandy had bought tickets, Lake TV tickets, through a charity event, and I was excited because I had never really gotten a chance to talk to them. They are really great people, and if you didn't get a chance, go back and look at the Hometown Heroes from just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
That was one of our most popular ones as far as views later, because so many people from back home who he made a difference in their lives, they saw that and then shared that. So go back and see that, because his family is incredible. Him and his wife Sandy, they've adopted 7 foster kids. They've had over 125 foster kids in their home, and they've already got 4 of their own children, and now they got this great big blended beautiful family. And so congratulations to Chief Gary Launderville, and thank you, my friend, on behalf of the Lake of the Ozarks community for your service. We appreciate you, and enjoy retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. And moving on, City Administrator Harrison Fry says they are already commencing a search for Launderville's successor. They'll be accepting applications from worthy candidates within the department and across the state and all of that stuff. So no dust on them. They're moving right ahead to try to find the replacement, which is a good thing because that's a very important position.
And you notice there's a way to do things, and for Gary Launderville, giving his notice well in advance and giving him the entire rest of the year to find that candidate during the slower time, it goes to show he's been here before, puts the city in a great place, and they're ready. So listen, that's an attractive job, because that department, although underpaid historically, there's a lot of things being done from our mayor, from our city administrator, working on getting the Lake Ozark PD higher salaries, more benefits, and because it's Lake of the Ozarks, don't be surprised if we don't attract some candidates from far and wide who may want to make this place home.
To live here, right? To live at the lake and to live in one of the last sane places on earth, it seems like. So, we've seen a lot of people wanting to move here. And I think a job like that would be very, wouldn't you, if you're living in the big city and all the crap and garbage going on there? I think I want to move there.
Yeah, you've been through it.
Oh,
you did.
Absolutely.
Best decision you ever made, as far as I'm concerned anyway. All right, so Thanksgiving confessions. Normally, we get into the early week after Thanksgiving, and I've got a lot of guilt and shame. So, Uncle Chris, do you have any guilt or shame after the Thanksgiving break?
Yes, I do. I've got plenty of it, man. I had 3 Thanksgiving dinners this year. You know, one at church, which was awesome, and then then we went to Omaha for Thanksgiving weekend and had 2 Thanksgiving dinners there, one with one part of the family, one with another part of the family. And I did fairly well until the last one. And then, man, I tell you, I went overboard on that pie and ice cream and other things like that, you know. So it was not good. I have not jumped on the scale to see how bad it is, right?
That's okay, but you did get to enjoy some family.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Great food.
Yeah.
You guys traveled, and did you watch any football on Thanksgiving?
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
It's a great day.
You know, that's one of the great things about the women in our family is they understand that. Like my wife is a bigger sports fan than I am, so they're cool with us watching football all day, you know.
Yeah.
And if we turn it off football, she gets on me to turn it back, right? So there you go. That's good stuff right there.
That is indeed. We hosted this year for the first time as homeowners, had a blended family, both my wife, unique side of the family, my side of the family, over 20 people.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what, it went great. Very, very blessed. And I tried to be mindful. I didn't eat any dessert or carbs. And I always drink a lot of Coke over Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah.
And I poured myself one on Thanksgiving, drank a third of it, and then said, okay, I got through my meal, 1 plate, no carbs, no desserts.
What?
So I was on it.
That's incredible. That is some willpower there, man.
Exactly. And not being so foggy and so, I say comatose state after all that eating, it allowed me to mindfully be thankful this year and just kind of look around me from all the blessings to being homeowners recently, have my beautiful girls, all the family around us that's there and supports us. And like I said, inside our own home, Unique did such an amazing job, put out an incredible spread. And yeah, Bills won, barely. Talk about my blood pressure was right
pulled
up
it
here.
out. That would have changed everything. Huh?
It's true. I don't want to. You know, it would have changed a lot.
If the Bills would have lost, it would have been open season on food, man.
I hate football. Am I just eating because I'm bored? Hey, name the movie. What movie is that?
I don't know. What is that
Jim
movie?
Carrey, The Grinch Stole Christmas.
Oh, is it really?
He's eating glass. Am I just eating because I'm bored?
I actually laughed so hard at that movie when he's coming down the mountain and he's out of control. He says, I almost lost my cool.
Listen, that is one of the funniest, wittiest. The writing in that is so brilliant. Every time you watch that, which is one of my favorite Christmas movies, you find something else that Jim Carrey says, or a cadence or body language in his response to something. It's one of the funniest Christmas movies of all time.
It really is, man. It cracks me up.
You're
funny.
crying over here,
shoot.
but him eating that glass. Am I just eating because I'm bored?
I could tune in to watch that movie just for that line, man, because I laugh every time.
It's greatness. But Jim Carrey's one of those guys that has that effect on me. All right, so listen. We're pretty lucky here in Missouri because everyone's talking about nationally, gas prices are down, but still higher than they should be. But if you look at the state of Missouri, believe it or not, we're actually lower on the scale. According to KRMS News, AAA says that the average price of gas per gallon in Missouri is actually $3.24, while the current national average is $3.66. Now, this was as of Sunday, and so Monday I drove around on the 28th and saw some of the gas prices here at the lake, and if you look on Bagnell Dam Strip, they were $2.99. If you look at break time in Lake Ozark across from JB Hooks, they were $2.99. And then in Greenview, right by our office, they were also $2.99. So you have everywhere's under $3 around the lake, and then Woodrow's, which it's not called Woodrow's anymore, over the toll road with the car wash there, they were $2.89, and the official convenience store of Lake TV, CG's and Godfather's Pizza in Sunrise Beach, they're almost always the lowest gas at the lake, $2.89 there as well. And so we rank 10th right now, that being the state of Missouri, on the national average. And Texas is currently the cheapest, believe it or not. Yeah. Their average is $2.99.
Yeah, which is what we're seeing here at the lake right now. It's really going to be interesting with gas prices. It's been a big national story, obviously, for the last couple years. The current administration draining the federal fuel reserves to try to keep the energy prices down for now, at least through that last midterm election, because with the current administration not doing any drilling, not, getting our own energy. We've been running out of that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to gas prices if they start going back up, if they start spiking again, which I think most people kind of expect.
I'm going to try to look at the glass half full, try to be optimistic here. But if there's any blessing or silver lining in this administration, have we ever had as many entertaining one-liners and gifts and gaffes and viral videos of him blubbering and God only knows what he's saying?
Wow. And not just him. It's the vice president and it's all over the place now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Kamika or whatever her name is. They're out of control. Wow. But you notice every time I get on social media, start scrolling, it's another video of President Biden gaffe. Yeah. And you almost feel bad for him because he does seem to be out of his mind.
Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't he? And there's doctors that have said that he is probably suffering from dementia and stuff like that. Which
talk about doctors mentioning what you're suffering from. My list for my doctor is like this long. He's suffering all right. Oh. All right, so on to one of my favorite segments we do each week, and this week is going to be special. It's our Central Ozarks Medical Center's hometown hero and Uncle Chris. This week, we're going to highlight my good buddy, Pastor Stephen Chrisman at the Church at Osage Hills.
Wow, okay. So why Pastor Chrisman?
All right, so a lot of people know him around the Lake area. He's been the associate pastor at the Church at Osage Hills. Recently, he got promoted to that position. He's also served as the youth pastor and then the connections pastor, which was the first capacity I was introduced to Stephen in. Him and his wife, Lauren, who is the director of business development with COPS, Concerns of Police Survivors, which is a big-time job, does a lot of traveling. She's also on the praise and worship team at church. They got 2 kids. Their son, Barrett, 2 years old, who's just adorable, and then their 7 or 8 month old daughter, Andy. But the reason that I want to highlight Pastor Stephen is because we talk about selflessness and serving others, and this one's kind of selfishly that I wanted to highlight because I started, my wife and I decided we were going to start going back to church religiously about 7 months ago. We were not going to miss a service. We weren't going to make any excuses. And 1 year from that date, in early May, we wanted to see if our life didn't look differently. So at that point in time, I got plugged into counseling through church, and my counselor is Pastor Stephen Chrisman. And I got to tell you, it's no coincidence that since that date, my life has done nothing but be on an upward trajectory. My relationships are better, my leadership is better, my health is better, everything about my life has gotten better since I started spending time with Stephen Chrisman. And I'm not giving him all the credit, but he selflessly ministers so many people and he serves as a counselor, but he won't let you pay. So I'm sure he's going to get a lot of calls from this, but I see him every single week, and he's selfless, he's accomplished, and he's so kind. And I've been encouraged by the way that he husbands, by the way that he fathers, by the way that he cares about others. And believe it or not, I feel like I am the most important person in Pastor Stephen Chrisman's life. And I'm not exaggerating. And I know that everybody that he pours into feels that way. He's got this uncanny ability to make you feel like you're the only thing he's got going in his life. Well, he's got 2 kids, 2 are younger, while his wife travels a lot. So not only has he got a full schedule at church and in leadership, but he's always encouraging others. And then he's playing dad and super husband, and just super encouraging. He's about my age, and just amazing young man. Pastor Ken Lumley, who has known him for 8 years, had this to say: Stephen has shown tremendous resiliency and ingenuity, arriving at Osage Hills 8 years ago as a student ministry intern, and has matured and grown at every opportunity along the way to become the church's associate pastor. As a teacher, counselor, staff support, and community leader, Stephen has become a tremendous leader while at the same time maintaining an enormous amount of approachability and humility as he served and cared about those around him. That is so true too, because he is so humble and always shows humility. In addition, he works hard at being a tremendous family man as a husband, dad, son, and brother. Stephen is without question a good man who loves the Lord, his family, Osage Hills, and the Lake community with passion and authenticity all the time. And our very own Megan Albers, who was actually his boss in radio and then worked under him at Osage Hills, said she's known him for 8 years and a tremendous honor to be around him. She loves him and says there's not many people like him. And when I brought up the idea that I wanted to highlight Stephen, she goes, I was going to recommend that. And so everyone that gets close to him feels that way. And so from the Lake TV staff, from the Lake community, Pastor Stephen Chrisman, thank you for all that you've done to pour into me and our community and those around us. Pastor Stephen Chrisman this week, Central Ozarks Medical Center's hometown hero. You're the real deal, Chris, I'm telling you.
That's fantastic, man, and it's so nice to be able to give good people like that the credit they deserve, the publicity they deserve. So that's so awesome.
Yeah, and he wouldn't get it. And that's a lot of people who serve in that capacity as far as ministry is, so much going on. Personally, you got 2 kids that are young, your wife's traveling, you're trying to establish your life together, and all the while giving so much of yourself to others. Because in ministry, that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
you kind of remove yourself and you're on the clock for everybody else.
And we could say that probably for so many of the pastors around town. I mean, Ken Lumley is one, John Shelton's another.
Herb Baker, who's on the Community Spotlight show this week.
Absolutely, yeah. Pastor Day over at the Camdenton Bible Church.
I feel like we're going to forget people because the lake is filled with great Christian leaders and a lot of great pastors. But, we love him, and I had to be a little selfish, wanted to highlight him, but I'm not kidding. I can say that ever since I started plugging in and going to spend time with Stephen, that my life seriously is so much better. I've got peace, I've got joy, I've been sleeping. Yeah. And I'm not giving Stephen credit. God gets all the credit for that. But he is a vessel that has been obedient and allowed me to selfishly get a lot of his time and effort. So
that's huge.
All right, so on to sports, our favorite thing, and we're going to start before we get into the team of the hour. We're going to start with the KC Chiefs winners once again, and on top of that, Chris, the Titans lost this weekend and the Ravens lost. Yeah. So now the Chiefs at 9-2, kind of in control of their own destiny if they want to be that 1 seed. You look there at the AFC standings, they stand all alone looking down, and the AFC West, a nice 3-game cushion. Basically, that division is in the bag unless something catastrophic would happen. Yeah. But at this point in time, is it time to start saying the AFC is going through Kansas City? Or
it's still a little bit early for that because I still think Buffalo is right there. And Buffalo, the Bills are just 1 game back, and the Bills have the tiebreaker on the Chiefs. So if the Chiefs slip up and the Bills get hot again, which I kind of expect them to do, there's a chance the Bills will catch them and have the home field advantage, which playing in Buffalo in January is not easy. So that would be a big deal. But as of right now, and the way the schedule has come out, the rest of the way, the Chiefs have the easiest schedule in the NFL. Because the whole division is not too good. Broncos are not good. The Raiders are not good. Although the Raiders are a lot better now than they were. I mean, they're not an easy team to beat now.
Raiders and Chargers are a tough out.
Yeah, I'm telling you. They played the Chargers, beat them twice already. Got the Raiders left, and the Raiders can be tough. Broncos have just stunk it up.
Let's ride.
So
let's ride.
So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, and you don't really know, but things are looking good for the Chiefs right now.
I was hoping that you were gonna say that when I said the Chiefs are in control, they're gonna do it. You bring up those Bills. It worked out perfectly because listen, not only do we have the tiebreak against the Chiefs, Titans, and Ravens, so the top 3 seeds, and we still play Miami. Yeah. We got the similar record, but right now they got that tiebreaker because they beat us. We would take back over should we beat them later in the year, which we will. So Buffalo is coming for them, but it'll be interesting to see because I think the Bills and Chiefs might play again in the playoffs.
Too. I think that is the setup right now. Of course, there could be upsets. The Titans are a really good team.
And I agree. I think Tennessee, even though they lost to the Bengals this weekend, don't sleep on Tennessee because they've been there. They've got the freak of nature in Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and don't sleep on the Bengals either. No. I mean, remember, they went to the Super Bowl last year, and they're just starting to get hot now.
Correct.
They've won 4 in a row and 5 of 6 or something like that, and the Chiefs play them this week, so that'll be interesting.
I'm going to say this. I think that the AFC, and there's no doubt about it, is much tougher. This year, the 7 teams that get in the playoffs from the AFC all are going to have a shot, whereas the NFC you can narrow down to a couple of teams that you realistically feel like.
Yeah, I mean, because Tampa and Tom Brady, not the same this year.
But wait for them.
The Rams,
they'll be there.
Well, and they're 5-6, and they're leading their division.
They'll be there.
How bad is that division? The Rams are really down. They're really hurt. So we were talking earlier. I mean, Eagles and Cowboys might be the team to beat in the NFC this year.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if it doesn't come down to those two teams. That's a really good division.
Yeah.
Really good, because the Giants and the Redskins are both really good.
Yeah, they're good too. I mean, right now, as of this week, all 4 of the teams in the NFC East would make the playoffs.
Same with, I guess now that the Patriots lost, they're actually on the cusp. But yeah, that's a really good division. So, all right, as we look ahead, let's go talk about Mizzou, baby. Probable win
what a great
for the
upset
Tigers.
Win. Yeah, I tell you what, they go, actually it was at home.
Yeah.
But so they go in and they beat the hated Arkansas Hogs, right, 29-27, and that was a huge win because they get bowl eligible.
And listen, baby, Brady Cook is that dude. He played out of his mind, over 130 rushing yards in the first half. He was phenomenal in this game. Let's see, his official stats. He was 16 of 26 for 242 with a touchdown. No turnovers, 18 carries for $138 and a score. Dominic Lovick, 6 catches for $130. So as we look ahead to the bowl season, Missouri Bowl eligible, we're going to get assigned a bowl spot specifically designated for the SEC most likely, like the Liberty Bowl. But however, we could get a at-large bid, which is very unlikely. But I'm looking at probably the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, the Tax Act Texas Bowl, AutoZone Liberty Bowl. But hey, that Liberty Bowl, we could get a Big 12. It's a Big 12 and SEC Bowl. Mm-hmm. There's an outside shot that Mizzou and KU could play in the Liberty Bowl.
That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Freaking great would that be?
That would be awesome.
So we'll find out who Missouri gets on December 4th at that selection show. But Mizzou's bowling, so I got to give credits to Elijah Drinkowitz after being 2-4, to win 4 of their last 6. He finally took a step back and relinquished play calling duties, or at least sharing those duties. And we've seen a difference on the field. One down thing for the Missouri Tigers football program, Dominic Lovick announces he's going to enter the transfer portal. He's one of the top receivers in the SEC. Yeah. Didn't get the love and appreciation from Mizzou or the NIL deal, and I think that has a lot to do with him entering the portal. But Missouri could still retain him. Big news for Mizzou. Luther Burden came out a couple days ago and said, listen, can't wait for the bowl game. I'm not going anywhere. Mizzou for life, meaning looks like Luther Burden is committing. Sam Horn will probably be our quarterback next year. So football is going to be in good hands. And basketball. I know we haven't played anybody, Uncle Chris.
How about basketball?
I know the schedule's light, but typically Mizzou's schedule's always light, and we're on the verge of losing to teams like UMKC and Furman and North Dakota State. But not only are we winning 7-0 going into Tuesday night's game against Wichita State, but the team is absolutely lighting up the stat sheet, Chris. They're averaging 93 points a game, shooting over 53% from the field. 23 assists per game, and they're forcing 22 turnovers. Of course, inferior competition, but they're winning their games by an average of 23 points, and they've got 5 players on their team that average 10 or more, with their 6th player, DeAndre Goldston, at 9.7. It's a good sign when you're playing that well against inferior teams.
Yeah, it's really good. We'll get to see who they really are in the weeks ahead, because Wichita State, I think they've got a game against Illinois coming up. KU coming up. Yeah, so we'll see what they're all apart. But they've got a new coach this year, and I think we're seeing, even beating these lesser teams, like you said, they're not just squeaking by with wins or getting upset like they were last year by UMKC and stuff like that. So this is a good thing, I think, for Mizzou basketball.
And balance, but like you said, going into Tuesday night's game, Wichita State's much better than they've played. In KU, Illinois, and Kentucky are their next 4 games. And so some very tough matchups, like you said. We'll find out what that team is all about. All right, so as we move ahead, Uncle Chris, congratulations. First place on Pick'em. You and Marvin tied. Make up ground. So now you and I tied in second place. You gained a couple of points on Andrew, who's still in first with 128 points. We'll do our picks off the set. I realize no one cares who we pick on these, but you and I do. So as we look next Saturday, Lake of the Ozarks Christmas Parade on the historic Bagnell Dam Strip. We'll have that live for you at 1 o'clock, presented by Central Ozarks Medical Center. Of course, we said Pastor Herb Baker on the Community Spotlight show this week. Basketball season, you can see it right there, our upcoming broadcast schedule. lots of basketball action coming quick with the first game on the 15th. A couple of things. Shore family sits down with Uncle Chris to go over that legacy on a special coaches show.
Yep.
We also have Bo Shore and Chase Elliott from At Niangua's Inn sat down with me on Mic'd Up to preview their upcoming movie. Outside of that, Chris, it's going to be a great week, and we appreciate everybody tuning in. For Slumberland at the Lake, Uncle Chris, Wild Will, we'll see you guys next week.